You know those financial questions you're too embarrassed to ask your friends? Well, I've got you covered. Today, I'm tackling some of the financial questions I get from my clients, and I'm going to give you the straight talk, no chaser answer. We are going to answer one question about a career opportunity, one question about insurance, and then I am going to ask you a question. There are three ground rules for client questions. One, I always change the names to protect the innocent. That's right, I changed the names. While these questions and scenarios may sound like they came from someone you know and they're about someone you know, I am not a snitch. Again, these names are fictitious. You don't know these people. Rule number two, it is not wise to take financial advice in a vacuum. Please work with a certified and qualified advisor for personalized advice that considers all the nuances in your life. Rule number three, the advice I give in this video is for informational purposes only. It is not an endorsement for investments or products. Don't come for me if you make some rash decision based on 3 minutes of commentary in this YouTube video. Don't do it. Also, you're going to see in the background, my pup is joining us, like playing around in the background. All right, with that, let's get to this first question, which I will entitle Keep It Moving. Put on my glasses so I can see everything. And indeed, let's keep it moving. Hey, Jay. You see, I'm trying to give her a voice, right? Hey, Jay. My husband Paul and I are married with 2 kids. We have lived in the same city since we met in college 20 years ago. Paul recently received a job offer that will require a cross-country relocation. My job will not allow relocation, and my job cannot be done remotely. Should Paul accept the new job offer? Thanks, Priscilla. Okay, let's get into it, Priscilla. So here's my answer. I want you to get more information and then have a conversation with Paul. You know, this is a family decision. This is a partner decision. It sounds like you have a few different factors to consider, and I'm going to give you some of those factors so you know what to talk through with Paul. For example, if you have to quit your job for this relocation, will Paul's salary at his new job cover all of the household bills? Right? Do you want to stop working or do you plan to look for a new job in the new city? How are your kids doing and how will this move impact them? So, for example, if you have a child that is younger and you live near family members, you might get free child care or low cost child care, you know, drop it off at auntie's house, grandma's house, something like that. Not it, but drop your child off. But if you have an older child, perhaps they're like a senior in high school, do you really want to relocate a kid during their senior year of high school? Like that's a pivotal moment. Also, you mentioned that this is a new job offer for Paul, which implies it is not a promotion with his current employer. And it's wise to change jobs every 2 to 3 years because they say job hoppers benefit from a 10 to 30% salary increase, as opposed to those who stay with their current employee and their employer only gives them like a measly 1 to 3% pay increase. But you have to consider the other factors. So although this might be a 10 to 30% pay increase because he's changing jobs, what does it look like in the city you're going to, right? So like, is it a more expensive city? And then look at the company. How are they performing? Is there any chance that they might be doing layoffs? I have definitely heard horror stories of people who started a job only to be laid off, like within, actually one person was laid off the day they started because they did cuts. I want you to also think about the fact that this needs to be something that you look at holistically. Like you're also going to have to think of finding new medical providers. I like to keep my hair did. So you got to figure out, like, you know, are you going to need someone new for your hair? And all these things are small decisions, but they play into whether or not this is the right move for you. So overall, I think you should look at these additional factors heavy on before accepting or declining the offer. If you do decide to accept this new job, if Paul decides to accept the new job, please insist, or at least ask and then insist upon relocation assistance from Paul's new employer. So have them set you up with like relocation plans. They can help you find new schools for the kids. They can help you find I mentioned like doctors and things like that. Also, they can do the move. They can hire movers to pack everything else up. They can help you find new housing. So look for relocation assistance with Paul's employer if you decide to take it. And do that before Paul quits his current job. Make sure you have that in place, right? Also for you, if Paul is going to go forward with the move, you should also consider the option of what you can do with your employer. You said they don't do relocation. You said you can't work remotely. I argue that it's at least worth asking, right? Like closed mouths don't get fed. So ask. They may find a way to give you a remote role if they really want to. Companies have done it. They have done it. All right, the next question. I am sorry, my pup is doing the purity most right back there, so I'm gonna just try to talk through it. Next question, which I will entitle IRCs, not IOUs. Let's get to it. Glasses back on. Dear Jay, I try to give a different voice for him, right? Dear Jay, I was a victim of the fires in LA. My house was completely destroyed. I'm working with my insurance company to file a claim, but they are saying the cost of repairs are too high right now, so they might not cover it until the cost of supplies decreases. I don't want to IOU. What can I do? Thanks, James. Okay, James, that's a good question. And I extend my condolences, my sympathy for the fact that you went through and were devastated by the LA fires. I really do hope things continue to improve for you. I'm glad you are safe. I'm glad that you are able to rebuild. And I am glad that you reached out for some help. So let me see what I can do for you. This is what I think we can do for you, James. So my answer, I want you to first and foremost, and this is going to be the crux of this answer, check to see if you have IRC. IRC stands for Increased Replacement Cost on Dwelling Coverage. Allow me to explain. The standard coverage for homeowners and the standard homeowners insurance policy usually covers the cost to rebuild your home at its current value. The problem? After a major disaster like a fire, hurricane, or earthquake, the cost of building materials and labor can skyrocket because there's such a demand for it, and the supply doesn't increase. So that means the cost goes up. That's supply and demand, old school. This can leave you significantly underinsured if the actual cost to rebuild exceeds your policy limit. So that is where IRC, increased replacement cost on dwelling coverage, comes into place. IRC coverage provides additional funds to help cover the increased cost of rebuilding. It typically extends your current dwelling coverage by a percentage, somewhere between 10 to 50% of your policy limit. So let's do the math on this. This is an example, hypothetical. Let's say your home is insured for $300,000 with a 25% IRC endorsement, IRC coverage. If a disaster occurs, it now costs $375,000 to rebuild your home. So you went from $300,000 what it's worth, but because of the demand, it's now $375,000 to rebuild your home. So what you're going to do with that $75,000 gap? Because your standard coverage only covers $300,000. So again, $75,000 gap. With the 25% IRC endorsement, your coverage would actually increase to $375,000. That is 300,000 times 1.25, which is the additional, that 0.25 is the IRC coverage, getting you to 375, which could potentially cover the entire rebuilding cost. In short, IRC gives you the peace of mind that you have greater financial protection against unexpected increases in rebuilding costs, and it's especially beneficial in areas where there are frequent natural disasters. So I want you to think about the fact that like in Florida, they have hurricanes a lot. Remember, there are 2 hurricanes that occurred in September, October timeframe, 2024. IRC coverage helps with that. 2 things to know. IRC is an optional endorsement, so you will need to add it to your existing policy. It's not just automatically included in there. And also the cost of IRC varies based on where you live, the condition of your home, the age of your home, and the level of coverage you choose. James, if you do not have IRC coverage, the hope isn't lost. My dog is doing the most back there. If you do not have IRC coverage, hope is not lost. So if you don't have it, you can always appeal the insurance decision. You can also explore ADR, which is alternative dispute resolution options. And that's like mediation arbitration. No matter what, between IRC, insurance appeals, and alternative dispute resolutions, I strongly recommend working with an insurance attorney just to make sure you completely and fully understand your options before you do anything. All right. Thank you, James, for that question. So the last question is actually a question for you in the audience. I'm going to give you a fictitious scenario. Then I want you to write your response in the comments. This is not a pop quiz, don't worry. I'm going to respond to your responses. There is no right or wrong answer to this question. It is just simply a fun scenario, okay? Just a fun scenario. So let's get to it. And here's the scenario. You and your significant other are at a casino. You can determine how significant this significant other is, okay? So it could be a first date, boyfriend, cut buddy, fiance, spouse, little buddy, whatever. You are still on this outing of some sort at a casino with your significant other. Your significant other gives you $20 to play a game. You crap out. You lose the game and the money. The significant other then gives you another $20. And this time you hit it big. You win $20. What do you do? Okay, so again, there is no right or wrong answer to this. This is just a fun exercise in financial psychology. I've asked questions like this for years. It's a great way to understand human behavior because it shows what people value, how they process and hold on to money or release money, how they feel about their significant other, and a bunch of other small little details. It's just an interesting exercise. So let me know what you think in the comments and I will respond. And that is it for today's video. As always, keep the questions rolling in. I like to be able to help others, and these questions help me help others. And with that, y'all have a lovely day. I'll see y'all in the next video.